Hello History Geeks. Today I want to show you guys a house here in Winchester that most people probably walk past without giving it much thought. It's right here in the Winchester Historic District, among many other historic homes. I first heard about this house from a friend of mine, John Hawes, a retired police officer who frequents the local smoke shop, John B. Hayes, just right down the road. Some time ago, John told me a story about this place that immediately caught my attention. According to him, in the late 1930s, just after the bootlegger era, the house quietly hosted a private smoke and poker club hidden in plain sight. The name of this place was called the Fort George Club. Once I started digging, I realized this wasn't just a rumor, and the story behind it is even better than I expected. Let me tell you what we know and what Winchester remembers. Now that you've seen the house, let's step back for a moment, because the story behind this place stretches far beyond what you can see from the sidewalk. By the mid-1930s, Prohibition had officially ended, but the culture it created didn't disappear overnight. Across America, and especially in small towns, private clubs continued to operate quietly. These weren't flashy bars. They were invite-only spaces, smoke, cards, drinks, and conversation away from public view. The house you just saw is at 25 Boscawen Street, and long before the Fort George Club, it already had a story to tell. In the late 1920s, it was purchased by Dr. Ralph Schaefer and his wife Sarah. But the history of the house goes back even further than that. During the Civil War, this home belonged to Dr. William Love, who treated wounded soldiers inside these walls. Years later, he would leave this house on a cold December night in 1873 to assist in the birth of a child in nearby Gore, a child who would grow up to be the author Willa Cather. By the time the calendar turned to 1935, the house had entered a new chapter. A new physician had moved in, bringing with him a very different rhythm of life. According to a well-circulated local historical account, by 1935, Dr. Schaefer began hosting Friday night gatherings for fellow physicians and local officials. Poker was played, drinks were poured, cigars filled the air. Dr. Schaefer reportedly didn't drink himself, but he never minded those who did, especially after the stingy years of Prohibition. One of the details that really stood out to me was when I read this account of Winchester's chief of police. By the mid-1930s, gatherings like this were no secret. Smoke, laughter, and card games were part of the rhythm of the house, and the neighborhood knew it. So when Chief of Police Clayton Hollis turned the corner at Braddock and Boscawen Streets, he didn't walk into the unknown. As the story goes, he could already hear it, laughter, cursing, and the slap of cards echoing down the alleyways. When he knocked on the black door, he wasn't met with silence or suspicion. He was greeted with cheers. Records don't tell us whether Chief Hollis was simply making his rounds that night or whether he had a familiar connection to the gathering. What remains is the memory of how he was received. But while the noise filled the lower floors, not everyone in the house was part of the game. Above the laughter and cigar smoke, another presence remained largely unspoken, yet deeply affected by what was happening below. At first, Sarah Schaefer tolerated these gatherings by retreating to the upper floors of the house, but as the club grew in popularity, that became impossible. According to the same account, she finally put her foot down. The club was banished to the basement. To keep men from walking through the house, Dr. Schaefer had a brick doorway built directly onto the sidewalk, a private entrance leading straight into the club. Inside, he created a true private space, a bar, poker table, a safe, and even a custom tile floor inlaid with cards and poker chips. You just didn't walk in, you had to know someone. Like most things built on routine and memory, the Fort George Club didn't last forever. The club reportedly continued through World War II, but by the late 1940s, it was gone. By 1950, Dr. Schaefer was running his medical practice from the front parlor of the house. From his office window, he could still see the old entrance. Once in a while, according to the story, he would think back to those Friday nights when the laughter was loud and the pot was full. Winchester's history isn't just written in battle reports or records. It lives in stories like this, passed along quietly, remembered long after the smoke is cleared. Until next time, keep an eye on the doors you pass. You never know what history is waiting behind them. If you enjoy stories like this and want to keep uncovering Winchester's hidden histories, I would love for you to subscribe and give this video a like.